While some WWE legends get tribute shows and 10 bell salutes, most wrestler deaths are quietly swept under the rug and completely overlooked. From popular divas to former main eventers, this is every wrestler whose death was ignored by the WWE. Kicking off our list with one of the most dominant monsters of the mid-2000s, Umaga. Eddie Fatu had wrestling in his blood as part of one of the most legendary wrestling families, and being related to names like Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Solo Sikoa. After working as Jamal in 3-Minute Warning, he returned to the company in 2006 as the Samoan Bulldozer. Covered in tribal tattoos with wild face paint, he became unstoppable. Umaga's dominance led to multiple WWE Championship matches against John Cena and a high-profile WrestleMania match in the Battle of the Billionaires. He captured the Intercontinental Championship twice and had legendary battles with Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, and Triple H. But behind the scenes, things weren't going well. In 2007, he was suspended for violating the wellness policy. Then in June 2009, after a second violation and refusing rehab, WWE terminated his contract immediately. Umaga kept wrestling on the indies, with his final match on November 28, 2009. Just days later, on December 4th, his wife found him unresponsive with blood coming from his nose. He suffered 2 massive heart attacks and passed away at just 36 years old. Forensic analysis revealed a combination of painkillers along with heart and liver disease. WWE's response was ice cold. They posted a brief statement on their website, but that was it. No tribute video, no mention on Raw. For years, the former Intercontinental Champion remained erased from history, and it was only after the bloodline became popular that commentators started mentioning the Samoan Bulldozer. But while Umaga's legacy lives on through the bloodline, let's talk about a wrestler who hasn't been mentioned in almost 2 decades. Andrew Martin had everything Vince McMahon loved. Standing 6 feet 6 inches with a granite physique, Test looked like a megastar. His big break came in 1999 with a romantic storyline involving Stephanie McMahon. They became engaged, and at SummerSlam, he defeated Shane McMahon. Everything pointed toward main event stardom, but then Triple H crashed their wedding, revealing he'd married Stephanie in Vegas. This legendary moment marked the end of Test's push. According to Vince Russo, Test was supposed to get the storyline, but Vince felt he wasn't ready and gave it to Triple H instead. Test never recovered. He spent years in the mid-card, but nothing stuck. Released in 2004, he returned for ECW in 2006, but his body was breaking down. A spinal fusion surgery made things worse. In February 2007, he was suspended for wellness policy violations and released weeks later. Test's life spiraled with 2 DUI arrests. In August 2008, desperate, he entered rehab. On March 13, 2009, 4 days before his 34th birthday, a neighbor found him motionless. He'd died from an accidental overdose, and later doctors discovered Test had severe CTE from years of head trauma. Despite being an Attitude-Era fixture for nearly a decade, WWE never acknowledged his death. At a time when concussions were becoming controversial, acknowledging Test would raise uncomfortable questions about the company's role in wrestler safety. Till this day, fans wonder how different the wrestling landscape would look if Test got the push during the Attitude Era instead of Triple H. However, Test wasn't the only wrestler from the Attitude Era whose death was ignored. At 6 feet 9 inches and over 500 pounds, Viscera was one of the most recognizable stars in WWE. He spent over a decade entertaining fans under multiple personas. Starting in 1993 as Mabel in Men on a Mission, he won the WWE Tag Team Championship in 1994. His biggest moment came winning the 1995 King of the Ring, earning a WWE Championship match at SummerSlam against Diesel. In 1999, Frazier returned as Viscera, the Ministry of Darkness enforcer. Complete with bleached mohawk and whiteout contacts, he was genuinely terrifying. His third run started in 2004. Evolving into the world's largest love machine, with comedic segments alongside Lillian Garcia. In 2007, he became Big Daddy V on ECW before his release in August 2008. After leaving WWE, Frazier continued wrestling on the indies. He'd always battled weight issues, suffering from high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. But doctors warned him his blood pressure was dangerously high. Frazier responded by cutting salt and sugar, losing over 100 pounds and reaching healthy levels. He was finally getting his life together. However, on February 18, 2014, 4 days after his 43rd birthday, Viscera suffered a fatal heart attack. Fellow wrestlers like Tommy Dreamer and MVP posted heartfelt tributes, but WWE's response was shockingly minimal. They posted a brief statement and aired a short tribute only after massive fan backlash. He wasn't involved in any controversy or scandal. His only crime was not being a main event star. Despite 15 years of entertaining millions, Vince treated his death like an afterthought. But while Viscera never reached the main event spot, let's talk about a man who was supposed to be the next big star. At just 18 years old, Lance Cade trained under Shawn Michaels at his San Antonio Academy, alongside Bryan Danielson. Cade signed with WWE in 2000, spending time in developmental before joining Raw in 2003. After struggling as a singles competitor, Cade was paired with Trevor Murdoch in 2005. They won the World Tag Team Championship 3 times over 3 years, feuding with DX and the Hardys. In May 2008, Cade turned on Murdoch and aligned with Chris Jericho during his legendary heel run. Cade attacked his mentor Shawn Michaels on Raw, and it looked like he was set for a big push. But in October 2008, disaster struck. Cade suffered a seizure on a flight caused by painkillers. Vince immediately fired him, but surprisingly re-signed him in September 2009. After getting released again in April 2010, Cade entered rehab on his own. He wrestled in Japan, with his final match on July 4, 2010. On August 10th, Cade was hospitalized with breathing difficulty, but discharged himself. 2 days later, at his father's home, his heart gave out. Years of painkillers had enlarged his heart. WWE posted a brief statement and nothing more. Even his mentor Shawn Michaels stayed silent. He could have been the next big star, but became another forgotten name. But while Lance Cade's career fizzled out before his big push, let's talk about one of the most entertaining wrestlers of the Attitude Era, whose death was overlooked by WWE. Michael Lockwood, also known as Crash Holly, made his debut in 1989 and spent a decade on the independent circuit before WWE signed him in 1998. He debuted in 1999 as the kayfabe cousin of Bob "Hardcore" Holly, and their relationship was comedic gold. Crash quickly became a fan favorite, particularly in the hardcore division. Beyond the hardcore division, Crash won the Tag Team Championship and later captured both the European and Light Heavyweight Championships. For 5 years, Crash entertained millions with his scrappy underdog persona and comedy segments. But behind the laughter, Lockwood was struggling. In June 2003, WWE released him. He signed with TNA as Mad Mikey in July and wrestled his final match on November 1, 2003. Just 5 days later, tragedy struck. On November 6, 2003, Lockwood was found dead at fellow wrestler Stevie Richards' house in Florida. The autopsy revealed he had ingested 90 pills and died of an overdose. WWE included him in a tribute video at ECW One Night Stand in 2005, 2 years after his death. But there was no tribute on Raw or SmackDown when he passed. His friend and kayfabe cousin Molly Holly later released a DVD where portions of the proceeds went to Crash's daughter's education fund. But WWE itself acted like he never existed, erasing one of the Attitude Era's most memorable characters from history. However, Crash wasn't the only comedic wrestler whose demise was ignored. After stints in various territories, Matt Osborne returned to WWF in September 1992 and was transformed into Doink the Clown. This wasn't a happy, balloon-twisting clown. The original Doink was sinister, a twisted prankster who tormented opponents like Crush, Bret Hart, and Randy Savage. The character resonated with fans, and Doink was being featured prominently on television. But behind the scenes, Osborne was battling serious substance issues. In late 1993, according to Osborne, Bam Bam Bigelow reported him to management for using substances in a hotel hallway, leading to his termination. WWE continued the Doink character with Ray Apollo and others through 1995, but the original was gone. Osborne had a brief stint in ECW, but it didn't lead anywhere. For the next 2 decades, Osborne wrestled sporadically on the independent circuit. On June 28, 2013, Osborne's girlfriend found him unresponsive in their Texas apartment. The cause of death was ruled an accidental drug overdose. 2 years later, in June 2015, Osborne's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against WWE, alleging the company promoted violence and contributed to Osborne's mental state. WWE dismissed the claims, and the lawsuit was eventually thrown out. The company posted a brief statement acknowledging his passing but offered no tribute on television. They referenced the Doink character occasionally, but Matt Osborne, the man who made it iconic, has been largely erased from history. But switching gears from Doink's tragedy, let's talk about arguably the most groundbreaking female wrestler in history. After training under Killer Kowalski, Chyna caught the attention of Triple H and Shawn Michaels in 1996. They brought her to WWE in 1997 as Triple H's bodyguard, billing her as the 9th wonder of the world. Chyna shattered every glass ceiling imaginable. She was the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble, the first to qualify for King of the Ring, and most remarkably, the first and only woman to win the Intercontinental Championship. As a founding member of D-Generation X, she became one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era. But behind the scenes, her personal life was unraveling. Her real-life relationship with Triple H ended when he began dating Stephanie McMahon. In 2001, contract negotiations broke down. According to Jim Ross, Chyna demanded over $1 million, which Vince found unrealistic. Her sister later revealed Chyna was offered $400,000 but refused. By 2001, she was gone. After WWE, Chyna's life spiraled. She had brief stints in New Japan and TNA, but never recaptured her glory. She moved to Japan to teach English before returning to the United States in 2015, struggling with depression and continued substance issues. On April 17, 2016, Chyna was found unresponsive in her California home. The autopsy revealed she died from an overdose of alcohol combined with anxiety medications, painkillers, and sleeping aids. For years leading to her death, WWE refused to acknowledge her. It wasn't until 2019, 3 years after she died, that Chyna was inducted into the Hall of Fame as part of D-Generation X. Even then, it felt like an afterthought. The woman who broke barriers and paved the way for today's women's revolution was treated as an embarrassment in her final years, and WWE only honored her when she could no longer see it. However, Chyna wasn't the only female wrestler whose death was ignored. Ashley Massaro was born in New York and graduated from SUNY Albany with a degree in communications. A frequent swimsuit pageant contestant, she caught WWE's attention and entered the 2005 Raw Diva Search, winning a one-year, $250,000 contract. The problem? She had almost zero wrestling training and essentially had to learn on the fly. Despite her inexperience, Massaro became popular quickly. After being drafted to SmackDown, she became the valet for tag team champions Paul London and Brian Kendrick. She became a regular on the Blue Brand and one of the most beloved female stars on the roster. In July 2008, Ashley requested her release to care for her sick 7-year-old daughter. WWE granted it, and she left wrestling. She later appeared briefly on reality shows and worked as a radio DJ for a Long Island station. But in 2016, Massaro joined a massive class action lawsuit with 60 former wrestlers against WWE. She claimed she suffered multiple documented concussions, a fractured spine, debilitating back injuries, and had a metal plate inserted in her ankle. She alleged Vince McMahon ordered a cast sawed off her wrist weeks early so she could wrestle on TV. Massaro stated she suffered from depression, migraines, and severe memory loss, which she attributed to repeated head trauma that the company failed to properly diagnose or treat. The lawsuit was dismissed in 2018, with a judge calling it frivolous. On May 15, 2019, Massaro finished answering fan mail but didn't show up for her radio shift. At 5:23 a.m. the next morning, paramedics found her unresponsive at her New York home. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. She was just 39 years old, 10 days before her 40th birthday. WWE posted a brief statement and showed a graphic during Money in the Bank weekend, but that was it. They wanted to move past her as quickly as possible, likely because of the pending lawsuits and serious allegations she had made. Ashley should have been a legend. Instead, she became one of wrestling's forgotten names. And speaking of forgotten names, check out this video next to find out what happened to every forgotten WWE wrestler.